Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm here to break down the tight ends for week 3, Sunday main slate. We have a really big week of games here. But if you're new to this channel, first thing I want you to do is leave a like, subscribe to the channel, turn on notification bell. All those things really help me out. We have had a ton of growth throughout NFL, NASCAR, NBA season, and I just want all that to continue to go. So thank you guys so much. Make sure to leave a like. It's free. It just helps me out. It's free. You don't pay anything. It's just a little click of the button and it helps me out. So thank you guys so much. If you want to get more of my content, you can always subscribe to my Patreon for only $10 a month. You are going to get articles for every single position for every single week, along with my rankings and my rankings for cash and GPP, along with all my injury notes, so you'll know to be prepared on Sunday when players get ruled in or out, what to do, what not to do. You're also going to get articles for all 3 main showdown slates, so Thursday, Sunday, Monday Night Football, so be sure to check all that stuff out as well. Put the link in the description below. But I think that's all I really got to say in that, so let's get into the players, where we are going to start out with Chris Herndon, $3,400, New York Jets, playing against the Indianapolis Colts. Look, Chris Herndon, he was someone all summer long I've been touting as such a tight end in fantasy to go after, and I still believe he's going to be that guy. We've just had 2 brutal matchups in week 1 and 2 against the Niners and the Bills, and he's getting another tough matchup. He's got to go up against Darius Leonard, Anthony Walker, and Bobby Okereke, and those are some very, very good coverage linebackers. Overall, it's going to be a negative matchup for Chris Herndon. And honestly, his usage isn't as high as I was going to be. He had 7 targets week 1, 4 in week 2. I thought for sure his targets would go up more week 2 with all the receivers being out, but I was wrong. I think he's an okay play, but I think he's thin. I don't think he's going to have like some ridiculously high-scoring game. But he's fine. I don't hate going there. It's just probably not. There's a bunch of other cheap tight ends I think you can get, and I'd rather have a higher ceiling, have a better path to hitting the cash value than Chris Herndon. So probably not the spot where I'm really going to go to this week. Up next, we have Drew Sample, $3,500. C.J. Uzomah got tore his either Achilles or ACL in the Thursday night game. That sucked. But Drew Sample stepped in, and Drew Sample saw 9 targets and didn't even play the whole game as a tight end 1. So the fact that he saw 9 targets in that game was really, really impressive to me. I think that shows a lot that guy could be a very vital part of this offense. They did throw the ball 60 times. I don't think they're going to do that this week against Philly. But the problem is, it's not really a good matchup for him. Philadelphia's linebacking group's pretty solid at coverage of tight ends, so it's not the best matchup for him this week, but he's still a solid tight end, cheap tight end that's going to get a lot of volume that I think is worth a shot on. Probably not the spot I'd really want to go to for the most part. I still think there's other cheap tight ends that we're going to talk about and stuff that could happen with injuries that I'd rather get to, but I don't hate going there. Definitely not someone I'm totally against getting as Drew Sample. Eric Ebron is up next. He's $4,300 going against the Houston Texans, and the Texans defense just sucks. He's going to go up against Zach Cunningham and Bernard McKinney, which really aren't terrible tight ends, but it's overall going to be a positive matchup for him. Not the most positive matchup in the world this week, but it's going to be a positive matchup. They're going to be playing from ahead, though, so, he's probably, 5th or 6th option in this offense. That's probably a little far. It's like Juju, Deontay, Connor, and then probably Ebron or James Washington, so probably not someone who's going to get too involved. We saw him hit 5 targets last week. If he falls into a touchdown or maybe 2, then, yeah, that's going to be a really good value, but still probably not someone I really want to get too much ownership on. I think he's fine, but still probably not the way I want to go. Ellie Cox absolutely smashed last week when Jack Doyle was out, and this is going to be, once again, all about if Jack Doyle's out again. So, if Jack Doyle gets ruled out, Ellie Cox 3,800 becomes a very good value play again for me. Where we got the Vikings, he's going to be going against Neville Hewitt and Alec Ogletree. The Jets, he's going to be going against Neville Hewitt and Alec Ogletree. Overall, the matchup's going to be very positive for Ellie Cox. We're going to be playing people against the Jets all year long. But this is really only if Jack Doyle's out. If Jack Doyle's playing, Ellie Cox isn't a good play at all. But if Jack Doyle is out, I definitely do like going to Ellie Cox a good bit. Just think the matchup's very, very good. We saw 6 targets for him last week. I say we probably get around that range for him again. Hopefully he can fall into the end zone. He's a very athletic tight end, so someone I definitely want to get some exposure to. Jonnu Smith is up next at $5,200. Price is going up because this guy, with A.J. Brown out, is going to be utilized a ton. And A.J. Brown's in practice yet this week, so I don't think he's going to play. But as long as A.J. Brown's out, Jonnu Smith's pretty much number 1 or 2 receiver on the team. At $5,200, I want to go there. The Vikings are down to Anthony Barr for the rest of the season, so that's a hit to their defensive unit against tight ends. When we go look at the overall matchup, it's going to be a positive matchup for Jonnu Smith. This is a high total game. It's predicted to be pretty close. He's getting all the usage in the red zone. He is the red zone receiver at this point. Saw 5 targets last week for week 1. He should get around that much targets, but he's another really athletic tight end, can do stuff after the catch, gets all the end zone looks, he can score touchdowns. So Jonnu Smith, definitely someone I want to target in DraftKings again this week, 5,200. I don't think a lot of people are going to be going there anyway, so definitely someone I want to get some exposure to. Noah Fant going up against Tampa Bay, $5,400. This is not, I don't like to play linebackers ever against Tampa this year. I don't think that's going to be a thing because you have 2 really good linebackers going up against the tight ends. So you have Devon White and Levante David, who's just one of the best linebackers in the league, period. So it's not a spot where I really want to get to at all. I don't think tight ends against Tampa is going to be a good idea all year. He does get volume, 5 and 6 targets a game, and he's going to be playing from behind, and he's Noah Fant. He's actually like a very talented tight end. I think this guy's going to have a big year, but I think we should wait another week before we go back to him after that week 1 against Tennessee. I just think this is a spot to get there. Now, Darren Waller, honestly, might end up being the number 1 tight end in fantasy football this year. The guy just looks like a beast, and he's just getting force-fed the ball. I mean, he's so athletic, such a skilled tight end. $5,700 is honestly too cheap for him. Going against New England, and overall, this is actually going to be this is the best match overall in the slate for me. The linebackers in New England really aren't great coverage linebackers, so they're going to have trouble guarding Darren Waller. Like, who are they putting on Darren Waller? Are they going to put Stephon Gilmore on Darren Waller? Like, I'm not even that worried about that because it's such a mismatch in size. So, I mean, Darren Waller looks like such a great value play at tight end. 16 targets last week's insane. I don't think he's getting that again, but somewhere between 8 and 16. I mean, it's more likely like 8 to 14 targets on a weekly basis, probably what you're going to get from Darren Waller. But if they're going to be playing from behind, he's going to get a lot of usage again. So definitely someone I want to go after here. I think it's a very good play. It's a higher total game. They're going to be playing from behind. He's number one receiver on his team. So Darren Waller, only 5,700, looks like a great play for me. Hunter Henry is $4,800 going up against the terrible defensively Carolina Panthers. They're just not good at defense at all. You got Shaq Thompson, Tahir Whitehead are the 2 linebackers. I mean, Thompson's a pretty solid linebacker, but neither of them are good coverage guys. Overall, it's going to be a positive matchup for Hunter Henry. One of the better ones on the slate. They're going to be playing from ahead. They're going to be in the red zone a lot. We'll see if they just run the ball. But Henry's seen 8 targets each of the first 2 weeks. Doesn't matter which quarterback's playing, which is going to be Herbert now. So I think Hunter Henry looks like a pretty solid play to me in this game. Probably not going to get a ton of ownership. I mean, he's just a guy to like maybe throw in some GPP lineups, if anything, but probably not someone who's going to be like a core play. I just don't think I see him really hitting the ceiling. Dalton Schultz is one that I think is going a little bit overlooked this week, except that he's $4,500. Like, that's the one problem here. Like, I think Dalton Schultz I was looking at him as like a good value play going into the week because of this matchup, but then I saw the price tag and it was like, it's a little tough to get there. $4,500 for him. He's got a tough matchup against Bobby Wagner and KJ Wright, two of the best Bobby Wagner is the best linebacker in the league, and KJ Wright's just a very good compliment to him. It's still going to be an overall positive matchup for him, and the game total is 57, which is, like the highest game total we've had in a long time in the NFL. So, really, really high total. I like playing guys in this game. Honestly, only way I'm playing Dalton Schultz is if I'm just adding a Dallas stack. So if I have a Dak and Amari stack, and I just say, we'll throw in Dalton Schultz in there, maybe he gets a touchdown. Like, that's what I'm looking at. I'm not really looking at just playing him by himself. I'm not looking at just playing a Dak and Dalton Schultz stack. It's like throwing him in there with, Cooper Gallup, CeeDee Lamb, running it back with DK Metcalf, all those guys, and then maybe throwing Dalton Schultz in there or something like that. I think that's fine. But just not playing him by himself. Evan Ingram, I'm not going to play him this week. The 49ers defense is completely depleted. I mean, they don't have Nick Bosa, they don't have Solomon Thomas. I don't know if D Ford's going to play. They don't have Richard Sherman. They're screwed. Their season's pretty much done at this point. But they do have their linebackers. Dre Greenlaw, Fred Warner, Quan Alexander. It's the best linebacking core in the league, in my opinion. They're so good. These guys are very, very talented linebackers. And they're going to be going against Evan Ingram. Overall, this gives Evan Ingram the second worst matchup on the slate behind Noah Fant. And in a low total game, I don't want to go there at all. I just don't think this is a spot for Evan Ingram this week. He's going to get the volume, 7 and 8 targets week 1 and 2. Now there's no Sterling Shepard, so we'll probably see even more. But I still don't really want to get there. I just think there's better options on the slate at tight end than Evan Ingram. Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert, the 2 Philadelphia tight ends, going against the Cincinnati Bengals. Jermaine Pratt and Josh Bynes are the 2 linebackers they're going to be going up against for the most part, and they're cheap enough for I want to get to them. I like these guys as both mid-range tournament plays. Overall, the match is going to be very good. I mean, we just know pretty much anybody against Cincinnati this year is going to be in a good match. Their defense it's not good. 47 game total. It's not super high, but it's high enough where I'm cool with going there. We've seen 7 targets each of the first 2 weeks for Ertz and 9 and 8 for Goddard. Goddard's getting more involved as this year goes on. Watch out, man. Philly really should trade Zach Ertz, get something good for him, and just let Goddard eat. This guy's so skilled. So both these tight ends definitely play for me in tournaments. Probably don't want to go there in cash. In cash, I'm going cheap tight end this week. I think that's the way to go. We've already talked about a few options. We got one more coming up. I got 2 more coming up, I think, that could be viable. But, yeah, Ertz and Goddard, definitely good plays for me on the slate. Logan Thomas, definitely one of those cash plays I'm talking about. They're playing up against Cleveland, who has been torched by tight ends 2 weeks into the season. Drew Sample and C.J. Uzomah torched him last week, and then in week 1, Mark Andrews, but it's Mark Andrews. So I didn't really put too much thought to that one just because it is Mark Andrews, Baltimore's #1 target. But $3,700 going against these linebackers and B.J. Goodson, Sion Taki, Malcolm Smith. Overall, it's going to be a positive, or it's actually going to go overall look negative for Logan Thomas, but I'm not really too worried about that. That's more about the offensive defensive line thing. And Logan Thomas, this is, I think, a spot where tight ends are going to feast all year against Cleveland. And Logan Thomas has one of the highest usage tight ends in the league so far this year, 8, 9 targets week 1 and 2. Definitely want to go there in cash, $3,700 for that usage. That's all I like for cash. In tournaments, I'll probably look over places because I don't really like to play the chalky, cheap tight ends in cash, or in tournaments. I don't think those are the guys that usually are going to win you a tournament, but in cash, definitely like them. TJ Hawkinson, someone who I'm going to play only in stacks this week with Stafford. Probably not going to play him by himself. $5,300. Going up against Devondre Campbell, Jordan Hicks, Isaiah Simmons. There's a lot of the linebackers. It's going to be an overall positive match. We noticed total in this game is really, really high at 55.5 game total. They're going to be supposed to be playing from behind. The last 2 weeks, you've seen 5 and 4 targets, but I think he might start to come down a little bit now that Kenny Galladay's back. So I don't really like going there as much. I was hoping he'd have more involvement in the passing game this year. It just doesn't look like he will. But he's still really athletic tight end, really good tight end. He could always break off a long touchdown. So he's definitely someone to keep in mind for tournaments and stacks of Stafford. I wouldn't just go with a Stafford-Hawkinson stack, but I would go with a Stafford-Galladay-Hawkinson or Stafford-Jones-Hawkinson stack. I think those are definitely very, very viable. But for cash games or just for by himself in a tournament lineup, probably wouldn't want to go there. Haydenhurst is someone I was pretty high on coming into the season. He's looked pretty good throughout 2 weeks. $4,700. Gets to go up against Dallas. Not Dallas. Chicago, which is a pretty tough matchup, slow down matchup. Not really too high on anybody from Atlanta this week, to be honest. But Haydenhurst at $4,700. If he's going to get 8 targets, which he got last week, which you probably won't see that many, but we'll probably see somewhere between 5 and 8. So maybe 6 or 7 targets. He's in an overall positive matchup. I think that's a fine option to go to. I don't think a lot of people are going to play him, so definitely a low end play to look at in tournaments. Probably won't go there in cash, but definitely tournament options. Haydenhurst. I like his matchup. I like his volume. So I don't like totals much. Just not one of my favorite plays. I mean, it's so hard to say you really like plays when you're competing with these 2 monster games that we have this week. So, but I mean, Haydenhurst is a good play. I do like going there. OJ Howard is $3,500. I just don't think he has a ton of upside. I think he's fine, but the upside just does not feel there. When we go look at his volume, he's in 2 weeks he's gotten 6 and 3 targets. This is one of the lowest total games on the slate at 43. I feel like Mike Evans and Chris Godwin have better matchups for the receivers than OJ Howard does against the linebackers. So I think he's more of someone I'm really not looking to go to. I think there's better options in the 3K range for cash, and I don't really ever want to play OJ Howard in tournaments at that point, honestly, either. So probably just going to be a complete stay away from me. Darren Arnold at $2,800. Dan Arnold's interesting. I think he's more involved in this offense than I think people want to give him credit for. Overall, this is going to be a positive matchup for Dan Arnold. In case you don't know, he plays for the Cardinals going against the Detroit Lions, because I know not a lot of people know who Dan Arnold actually is. But 4 targets last week, that's important. He's got some usage in this offense. This is another guy like TJ Hawkinson, which I'm probably not just going to play him by himself in tournaments. I would just, if I'm making stacks with Nuke and Kyler and Kirk and then throw in Dan Arnold in there, I think that's fine. Just probably not someone I really want to go to a ton of, but if I get 1 or 2 lines with Dan Arnold and a stack of Arizona with Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins, I'm going to be cool with that, because if he gets a touchdown and a 20-yard pass at $2,800, he's going to absolutely smash value, and that allows you to get so many other guys. If you want to play Dan Arnold in cash, it's so risky. It's not like Logan Thomas week 1, but it's viable, man. It's definitely viable, so I don't hate it as much. Tyler Higbee going up against Buffalo. So Tyler Higbee, I didn't talk about this in the tight end video last week because I didn't know the Buffalo tight ends were going to be out against Mike Gesicki last week. But last week, Matt Milano and Tremaine Edmonds missed. And if they miss again, Tyler Higbee is in a beautiful matchup against Tyler Matekovich and Tyrell Dodson and AJ Klein. I mean, I don't usually play tight ends against Buffalo because those two linebackers that missed are very, very, very good defenders, very good coverage defenders. They've been tough against linebackers for years now. But Gesicki torched these guys about them. He was an absolute play, in my opinion, once those guys got ruled out. And if they're not going to play again, which we'll know, I'll pretty much know, I'll have a good idea on what's going to happen today, later on today, after we get injury reports and stuff. But if they're going to miss, Tyler Higbee's in a great spot. So be sure to check out my injury stuff. Subscribe to the Patreon where you'll know where all that stuff is. So, yeah, I mean, that's Tyler Higbee being a great play. All comes down to if the guys are out or not. If they're out, I love them. If they're not out, probably not as much. Jordan Reed at $4,000, absolutely smashed last week without George Kittle, and this one is dependent on George Kittle's going to play or not. And I don't think George Kittle's going to play. I just doubt they'd play him at this point. It just doesn't make sense. He gets to go up against Blake Martinez and Devontae Downs. It's overall going to be a positive matchup for him. He looked really, really good last week. He had 8 targets, so if that stays around, Jordan Reed is going to be a great play again for me. Love him in cash, love him in tournaments too. I don't hate going there, so be sure to look out for Jordan Reed. But yeah, I think that's really all I got to say for tight ends. I'm about to make my top stacks video after this, so be sure to stick around and check that out. Make sure to go check out my quarterback video, running back, receiver. Got all those out already. I'll have my top cash video out tomorrow morning, so be sure to be on the lookout for all of that stuff. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe on the channel. It's free, it's easy, it helps me out. Thank you guys so much, and hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend. Watch some football, and hopefully someone's going to take down a tournament this week. I mean, that's really the goal.